Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so again, I think we just had a little break there. What's the last thing you heard me say? Because I did wait off just now. Dr. Charles.
So,
what's the last thing you heard me saying before I went off?
Yeah, you were just greeting us one by one. You've not actually started. Everyone you called, the person on mute replies. You called me and you said, pleasant good evening. Then you called Ezine as well and asked us how we are doing individually.
So all the time that I was here, my lips were moving, you weren't hearing anything from me?
Yeah, I wasn't hearing anything.
And you didn't tell me you're not hearing anything. You didn't wave at me or anything. Nobody said anything. I was just gonna keep. You see why I told you guys I like to have cameras on, because I can see somebody. Yeah. I now noticed that I wasn't okay. That's all right. So you don't know what is the subject for this evening's class?
No.
Okay. All right. Let me start over. That's all right. So a pleasant good evening. Today is Wednesday, the 15th of June, 2022. It's my mother's 70th birthday. Happy birthday, Mom. So this evening's session is based on expectations. And what I was saying earlier is expectations are important to note. A lot of times we have expectations that are realistic, some expectations that are unrealistic, and then we have expectations that are able to be met, and some that we definitely will not be able to meet them. And it is difficult when individuals have expectations. It is difficult going through a process of communicating, and those expectations are not discussed, they're not explained, they're not understood. And a lot of times, sometimes expectations that are not communicated can cause relationships to kind of go sour. And they might even go sour without the understanding of individuals who are a part of that relationship. Misunderstood expectations as well. So let's look at expectations and the context that we're going to do this evening's discussion on, so that we get a full understanding of where we're going and what we're looking at. Now, whenever you get involved with a person, a business, a company, an organization, there's a reason why you do it. And the reason why we do things create a level of outcomes. And outcomes a lot of times are the expectations we have when we're going through the process. So you start a project start a relationship, a friendship, and there are outcomes that you're having or working towards. Some of them are spoken, some of them are unspoken. Some of them are practical, some of them are not practical. And in life, one of the things that is critical to note, any relationship you get involved with, any business, any association, make your expectations clear. The foundational expectations, the root expectations, the critical or the key things that you want to accomplish from that relationship. Make them clear. Why did I say make those expectations clear? If you don't make them clear, you set yourself up for a potential crisis, potential miscommunication, misinterpretation, misunderstandings. You're totally set up for misunderstandings when expectations are not clear. Let's play the game of boyfriend and girlfriend relationship. Young man goes into London, city of London, and he's bored. He's unhappy, he's frustrated at home. And he decides he needs to meet someone, have a companion, meet a friend. So he decides that he's going to take a trip to London, go to a bar, sit down, and try to meet someone. Party A. Party B. A wife is at home and the husband and the wife are together and everything is in order. And the husband decides he wants to spend a games night with the son, or he wants to spend some time with the kids, or they want to go out. The wife decides she's going to go with her girlfriend. So for the wife, she's just going out with her girlfriend. She has an expectation. I'm going to go and have a good time with my girlfriends. Guy has an expectation. He's going to go out and he's looking for somebody to start forming a relationship with. What just happened? When the two of them meet, it's a nice time. They have a laugh, there's a talk, but there's something that's very interesting that I want us to look at. Very interesting. Both individuals have different expectations, unspoken, uncommunicated. And a lot of times we get into friendships, businesses, associations, groups. We get into those situations the same way that scenario just played out. Same exact way that scenario just played out. You might say to me, how could that possibly be? Well, a lot of times you go to a connection, a group, an organization, and unless your expectations are clear, you're just floating around at the will of the organization or at the will and mercy of the person that you're meeting up with or connecting with. You're at their mercy. And what happens is there's a lot of noise in communication, a lot of noise. One body has one expectation and the other person is trying to think, why would you have that expectation? How could you? Because having that expectation is unrealistic. And we set ourselves up sometimes in those type of environments for disappointment. We set ourselves up for hurt. How many persons hang around a successful person and think that that person is going to look after them and look out for them? How many of us have family members or loved ones that we think if things go wrong, then that's a person that we can call on. And then when we call and they don't deliver on what we expect, then we're disappointed. because we never communicated some of the things that we just thought were obvious. Obvious to me is not obvious to you, and obvious to you is not obvious to me. So therein lies the need for communication. I want to ask you a question. What are your expectations with your associations? What are your expectations? Have you itemized them? Have you labeled them? Have you sat down and recognized why you are where you are, why you're doing what you're doing? Have you done it? What strength lies in keeping your associations in order based on your association with them and your communication with them? What is the strength? What is it? Why are you there? Why are you here? Why are you in the class of Steele? Why are you in Nigeria? Why are you in London? Why are you in that company that you are a part of? Why are you best friends with that person? What is the reason? Do they know? Do they understand? But equally, as much as you might want to know that, it is equally as important to understand from the other side of the coin. Why is that person interested in me? What do they want? You know, I find it very interesting when persons say, I don't want anything. No, I don't want anything. I just think you're a nice guy, and I just, you know, I don't want anything. In life, you discover something. We are attracted by reason of satisfaction from something. There's a need that the person meets. There's something we get from every person. Good conversation, good fellowship. I like the way you think. I like the things you do. I would like to help you to be a better person, a stronger person. I would like to help you to be more successful. There is a reason for every association. Guy sits in the restaurant and he sees a young lady that's very pleasant. There's a reason for his attraction or his communicating with her. There is a reason. Oh, you're very pleasant. I like you. What do? What are you into? What is your business? And then you develop a more intimate knowledge based on communication, based on exchange of words, dialogue. But we're really focusing on expectations. I've had a lot of expectations that were not realized. Let's look at unrealized expectations. Unrealized expectations. Let's look at them. Why were those expectations not realized? What are some of the possible reasons? My expectations were not communicated effectively. That's the first point. You did not communicate effectively what you expected. It was not properly communicated. The other point is, I thought it was obvious. How many of us do that? Think it's obvious. It's obvious why I brought you here. It's obvious why I'm talking to you. It's obvious. Obvious to who? Obvious to who? If we look at the scenario that I mentioned early with the gentleman leaving, he's home alone and desperate for a friend, a companion, and he leaves home alone and is going to this restaurant. He sees the lady, he's talking to her. He's talking to her, he's laughing, He said, "Oh, why don't I invite you back to my place? And why don't I invite you?" Clearly, he has intention from the beginning. If the lady does not communicate, I'm sorry, but I'm here because my husband and my children, we're just decided we're gonna have a little time away, and my girlfriends and I am chilling with the girlfriends, but we're just having a good laugh and it's nice conversation and refreshing. But that's it. She doesn't communicate that. You got a problem. So his expectation from the conversation, without her giving the explanation for her association, is going to create conflict. And it's the same thing we do with business. It's the same thing we do with associates and friends. It's the same thing we do. A lot of times we do not communicate our boundaries, our parameters, what we can do, what we cannot do, what we're interested to do, because sometimes we don't think it's necessary. It's not necessary to tell him I don't like him. It's not necessary to tell her I don't like her. It's not necessary to tell them I'm not interested in them. They'll find it out eventually. But I really want to plant a seed this evening of us understanding why a lot of times people go into depression because of unrealized expectations that were never properly communicated. And then sometimes you get so deep into the relationship or the friendship so far that it's too late. It's too late to communicate it when that time comes. Where do you stand? What are some of the other hindrances to expectations being realized? What are some of the other hindrances? Other hindrances are culture. Culturally, we don't expect some things. So as a result of that, we don't communicate some things. We're afraid to communicate some things because they might be culturally inappropriate or culturally unacceptable at the time. So a lot of times we just stay in the zone or stay in the environment hoping that what we expect to happen would happen even if we don't communicate it. So culturally, we just decide we will just go with the flow. Because that person is A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever that might be. And A, B, C, D, E, F, always A, B, C, D, E, F. So it is obvious. So culturally, we don't communicate it, we just expect it. And when it doesn't happen, we get overwhelmed and frustrated. Expectations. Other reasons why we have expectations not met sometimes is because the other person clearly knows exactly what you're trying to accomplish, but they have another motive. They clearly know that you want to go to town. Clearly. But while they're driving, they drive in a different direction. Why? Because they're ignoring you. And you think they know, because they know you want to go to town, instead of reprimanding them, changing them, or saying, excuse me, I want to be going into town. You think because you left home and they knew you wanted to go to town, that they're going to be taking you into town. Even though they're going in a different direction, you think to yourself, they will end up there. And then at the end of the day, when you don't get to town, you're disappointed. You're upset. You're angry. Grr. Why is it? It is because you didn't communicate it. It is because you didn't present yourself in a manner that gave precedence to understanding this is what I need to accomplish. Now, let me ask an interesting question. How many of us look at how we communicate our own expectations and then observe how others are expected to communicate their expectations to us? It's a reciprocated thing. Expectations realized or communicated is a reciprocated thing. For example, in a business, if you're a part of a company, the company's interest is your interest. But equally, your interest should be the company's interest as well. As much as you are concerned about the boss or how the company is running or things are working, as much as you're concerned about that on the behalf of the company, for the company equally should be concerned about you. How are you doing? How are you progressing? How is what we're doing to you as an employee or as a partner, as an associate, how is it growing? How is it adding value to you? It should be a mutual interest, and it should be communicated both ways. In a marriage is, or relationship is one of those places where expectations are supposed to be communicated and not beaten around the bush, per se. I love my wife, the First Lady. I love the First Lady. And the reason is because the First Lady has no problem being real with me. And I have no problem being real with the First Lady. Now, what does that mean when you say you're being real with somebody? My expectations are real. Her expectations are real. But one of the things that you find in a marriage, a relationship, a business, is expectations sometimes have so many different dynamics that in order to mitigate crisis, calamity, and frustrations, we need to weigh expectation with the external dynamics that are existing within the context of those expectations. Are you with me? For example, and I will use myself as an example. And this one is one of me, as I would use this term, beating myself sometimes. I'm a good cook. I'm a very good cook, actually. First Lady, First Lady, you agree that I'm a very good cook. I can cook well. However, my wife sometimes would have to take the frying pan, if necessary, I am guessing, to hit me alongside of my head to get me to the stove to cook. Why? Because sometimes there's so many things going on, so many thoughts, so many meetings, so many different dynamics that I can't tell you the last time that I was able to do the cooking. But when the First Lady met me, I used to cook. I remember when Josh was in his home, when Josh was in his home away from daddy and mommy's touch. I used to do quite a bit of cooking, and it was an absolute pleasure. But since we came to the UK and business and different things like that, dynamics have changed. And expectations of me doing this as I would do it prior, it have changed. The First Lady is a very, very self-sufficient person. Very. But coming to the UK, those things have changed as a result of the cultural dynamics, the local logistics. Things change. But how do you respond when expectations are not realized? Do you just throw the blame? Oh, you should have done this. You should have done that. You used to do this. You used to do that. Or do you look and realize the reason why it's not happening is because of all of these circumstances beyond your control? How many parents used to spend a lot of time with their kids, but then they realize they have to take a second job? Now they don't have time with the kids. The kids would get angry because they expected that mommy and or daddy would spend more time with them. That's what they expected. But they didn't expect that when you're going to college and university, the costs on mommy and daddy are escalated and increased. And something have to give. So your expectations now are not realistic. They can't be. And it is not like saying that you're unrealistic to expect mommy and daddy to spend time with you. No, that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is it is unrealistic to expect that within the new boundaries, the new things that have to happen, it is unrealistic to expect that things can still be the same. In relationships, I've had times when individuals have rubbed me the wrong way in business relationships. Oh, but Michael, you're a bishop, you should forgive. Of course you forgive. I expect that you would forgive. Of course, that's an expectation that is reasonable. But when the person calls me and you expect me to be smiling and all hunky-dory like nothing happened, that's an unrealistic expectation. Because how many of us agree that relationships change based on dynamics? You kick a dog all the time that you have home, kick him, boop. Kick the dog, boop. One day you will come home and the dog will not be in your backyard. Because you come home every day and the dog is in the backyard, it doesn't mean that one day you will come home and the dog is going to stay there. But I expected that he was going to stay. I've been kicking him for years and he never moved, he never left, but I expected that he would stay. But that was an unrealistic expectation. How realistic are your expectations of others? Some husbands promise their wives, I'm going to do this for you. I promised the First Lady that we're going to have a 5th anniversary wedding big celebration. That was my vision. I just wanted in our 5th anniversary that I'm thinking, yeah, baby, don't worry. We got married now. It was nice and simple and all good. That's all right. That's okay. But in our 5th anniversary, when I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. Come on, somebody, talk to me. And we have expectations. I expected that 5 years' time, I would be in a different position, financially, emotionally, stably, all those different leads. My wife expected that we would be in a different position 5 years later. But 5 years later, we were not in Barbados. We were not even in the same country with all of our friends and people. 5 years later, we're in a different country, different environment. I can't even count 20 friends that are in this environment that I had. I don't have 20. Somebody said, are you serious? because of the way that I operate, the way that I live, and the way that my wife lives, and the things that we do. Our circle is very small locally. We have a very small local circle, but a huge international circle. Huge. So then I say, okay, then we will do it for our 10th anniversary. Yay, our 10th anniversary. Let's do something huge. Expectations again. So all of this that we're discussing, I want you to stay focused. Stay focused on your own expectations. But equally, identify the need to stay committed as an individual to communicating realistically where you're standing. Because once you're able to communicate that, then you're in a better position to stay afloat. You're in a better position to maintain a strong relationship in the light of unrealized expectations when they happen. In the light of things going wrong when you didn't plan for them to go wrong. I've discovered that a lot of motivational speakers and professional lecturers and teachers like to hype us up. I use the term us. They like to hype us up with what is the ideal situation. Young lady comes to a marriage conference and is hyped up with all of the expectations of a nice husband and a nice boyfriend, nice car, nice business, lots of money, and it's exciting. But then you discover that a person that is extremely successful that can afford a Lamborghini or a Bugatti and a $2 million house, there is something that that person might be lacking. Time to spend with you. They're lacking time to spend with you. Why? Because something has to give. Something. I said to the First Lady, when we first got married, my office is going to be in my house. As a matter of fact, that's how we started. Why did I start that way? I started that way because I know the person that I am. If I have to go to the office, my wife would not see me very much. I can assure you. She would not see me very much because I would be away so much. And the way that I work as well, I would spend some long hours, even after hours, working. Wherein would the value in my relationship be? She would very soon ask herself, why did I marry you? Why did I marry you? I married you because I wanted a companion. I married you because I wanted somebody there to converse with and communicate with. I married you because I wanted a best friend. But now I'm at the place where I text you. Every time I talk to you, you have a meeting. And after work, it's somebody in another time zone that has to come to your office that you didn't expect them were going to come. And I've had enough of this. I'm sorry. Am I talking real? Am I talking real? We're talking about expectations. I certainly thought that when we got married, it was going to be this way or that way. I certainly thought that when I joined the company, it was going to be this way or that way. One of the stimulants for this session this evening, I'll tell you, is a lot of individuals that I've met, and I quietly observe them from behind the scenes, quietly, very quietly. You know, there's a human need for recognition, acknowledgement, level of importance. We all have that. All of us do. There's no human being, to my knowledge, or maybe I should say it to be professionally correct, there are not many individuals who do not care about being recognized or appreciated or valued or lifted. Not many individuals. It's something that we have from birth. Our mothers, oh, you're so sweet, you're so darling, oh, mwah. And you get that nice, warm, fuzzy feeling inside. Oh, it's a nice feeling. Even as an adult, as old as you get, you could be 90 years old and somebody says, I want to honor you and bless you. And you show up and your friends are clapping because of what you did. They're celebrating you because of who you are and who you've been to them. As old as you get, you will never overcome the good feeling that gives to you. Never, never. As a matter of fact, the recognition industry is one of the most successful industries on the face of the earth. The recognition industry. I'm going somewhere with what I'm telling you. I'm giving you some tools for yourself as well. Even the king wants to be told his suit looks nice. There's a recognition industry. But one of the things that is very important that I've observed is that it's become such an industry that people even pay for recognition. I look at persons getting awards and all of these things, and I recognize that because of the nature of the industry, that everybody knows it's a good model to use. Everybody's selling recognition. As a matter of fact, motivational speakers are selling recognition. They're selling encouragement. The class of Steele. The class of Steele is actually selling encouragement. We encourage you, we motivate you, we push you, we let you know you're going to be successful. We're doing the same thing to a degree. But what's something I observed? A lot of individuals are sitting on boards because they want to be recognized. And they have absolutely no value. None whatsoever. They're just sitting on a board because they want to be recognized, but are totally useless to the organization. Why did I share that? Let's look at expectations. When you join a board, there's an expectation of the company that have you on the board. But equally, when you decided to join that board, you also had an expectation. It's a two-way thing. I expect that when I decided to join this organization, that this was going to happen and that was going to happen. I expected that. The organization, I expected that when you came to the board that this was going to happen and that was going to happen. And what I realize is that behind the scenes, a lot of people get dropped. A lot of people get labeled. He's a waste of time. She's a waste of time. And you ask yourself about recommendations. And after a while, your brand and your name becomes small. You ask yourself, why? It is because sometimes we seek recognition, but we do not fulfill the expectations of those recognizing us. If you're a part of the class of Steele, let me give you one nugget about my character. One nugget. One nugget. If I tell you the amount of boards that are interested in me to join them, me and my wife look at them and laugh. Sometimes. And I'll tell you why. Everybody wants you when you're doing something that's important. Everybody's going to want you. And if your life is based around recognition, somebody recognizing you, you're going to spread yourself thin. And you're going to become useless. This is not a curse. I'm not cursing you. I'm giving you some early warning signs of being too busy, but not productive or fruitful. I'm an advisor to a lot of individuals and organizations within the parameters of relationship. Are you with me? Within the boundaries and parameters of relationship. But the only company or organizations that would have a monopoly on me are very few. Very, very few. As a matter of fact, they're not even 10 that I give that authority to demand my time. As a matter of fact, if I should be really transparent, there might be only about 3 and 2 is 5. 3 are my own and 2 are companies that I belong to. Because at any given point in time you're called upon, there's an expectation of those calling upon you to deliver. Now let's look at some expectations that all of us need to have as priorities. Let's look at some expectations. Expectation number 1, your immediate family. Immediate family. Immediate. And for me, immediate family is my wife and Josh and our children. That's our immediate family for me. That's priority. If I'm anywhere in the world and I get a call from the First Lady, she is an immediate priority. I am not bothered or concerned if I'm in an audience with the President of the United States of America. If my caller ID shows up, and I know the First Lady knows that her meeting with the President of the United States of America, she knows how important that is. But if my caller ID shows up with her name and her on it, I am going to have to excuse myself and take that call. That's priority. She expects that as her husband, that she could reach me whenever she needs me. That's an expectation that I have to fulfill. That's an expectation that has to be fulfilled. Even if it is, baby, I in a meeting with the president. Let me call you back, baby. I can call you back. You okay? You okay? Even if it is just that alone, but there's an expectation that she has that I have to deliver on. And I think every husband, in my opinion, that's an expectation that should be number one. Number two, how do my bills get paid? Number two, not number three or number four, number two, how do my bills get paid? How does food get on my table? That is important. The expectation that my employers or the expectation that whoever is being responsible for putting food on my table, the expectation that they have of me must be realized. It's priority. Can't be arrogant, can't be facetious, can't be rude, can't be ignoring. It's priority. It's critical. It's important. It's number two. Number three. And don't worry, I have something to say to some of you that you will put a smile on your face. Number three. My health. Oh, but your health is number one. Some people focus so much on their health that they won't even go and find a job to put food on the table. Don't worry, you'll understand that tomorrow. My health is number three. Why is my health number three? Because while I am looking after my wife, it's going to take its toll on my health. And I need to continue to monitor it when it calls. While I'm looking after my job and my daily routine and my work and what I do as an individual, it's going to have a bearing on my health. And whenever it calls, I have to answer that call. Are you with me? My health, my health, my wife, and my job are not going to all call me at the same time. Are you with me? What I'm trying to spell out is that there are priorities. But if given in order of precedence, priority is my family. Even if I have a broken foot and I need to get to my wife, I don't have a choice. Even if I don't feel too well today, but my wife needs me, I'm sorry, but she has an expectation. How many mothers went to work when they were not feeling well? How many mothers did what they had to do and they were not feeling well, but they didn't have a choice? If you stop and focus on getting well, unfortunately, the dynamics exist that say you will lose something. How many families at the expense of family and health, they made sure they put food on the table and paid the bills? Unfortunately, those are some realistic realities that we have to look at. I would have somebody calling me, oh, but Michael, you got to look after your health. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to go do this. You need to go do that. Of course, it's priority. It's important. But however, if I should say it, the expectation that there are other things that will call that are more in demand than I focus in on that. Unfortunately, those are realities all of us have to face. But then there's a greater expectation, and I will tell you the honest truth. This one, for me, you should have it as an individual, however you choose to find it, wherever you choose to find it. But this one is ultimate supreme. Your spiritual awareness or your spiritual health, your mental health. If you're a Christian, a Buddhist, a Muslim, if you're a scientist, however you determine your spirituality, that needs to be such a priority and a precedence in your life, your mental health. because you expect your body is going to work the way it is supposed to. You expect your mind is going to respond the way you expect it to. Your mind expects that you will look after it. Your mind expects that you will feed it. You expect that you're going to be competent in having conversations and discourses and eloquent of speech at some levels of your development as an individual. Then if you expect that, then there's an expectation of you to position yourself for that to be a reality. Your mental health is important. The United Kingdom is suffering right now with an important necessity of individuals who could help those who are seriously struggling with their mental health. Seriously. So there's an expectation of success for the class of Steele because they're those that need what we're doing. Now, in closing, thank you so very much for listening in this evening. But before we bring it to the discussion, I'm going to close with one more point. One more point. This is the hardest for me. It's the hardest for me. And it's going to come up in every teaching. Most of the teachings that we do, this particular point is going to come up. It's going to come up all the time in different dynamics and different scenarios. But this particular point is always going to come up about expectations. Always. It's not going to fail. Never will it fail. It will always show up. My own expectation of myself. Do you know why a lot of people have mental health issues? Because their own expectations of themselves were not realized. And they don't have a clue how to position themselves, how to fix what they have lost, how to fix what is problematic to them. Our own expectations of ourselves. When the boss has a conversation with me, how could you do this? How dare you? Do you know this? Do you know that? And he has a go at me, thumping to the left and thumping to the right. When he's finished, starts a second set of beating. A lot of times, that is even more tumultuous and more dangerous and catastrophic than the first beating. It is the person that beats himself. And you find yourself driving your car or you leaving the office. How could I do this? I don't know how I could be so stupid. I just don't, I'm so annoyed with myself. If I had known, you see, that's why I don't like myself. So I make such bad decisions, and we beat ourselves. We buffet ourselves. Sometimes I say to individuals, please, don't beat me anymore because I'm beating myself worse than you could possibly beat me. Come on, somebody. And a lot of you, I use the term you, those who are in the hearing of this broadcast, if you are hearing it on our radio station, on our YouTube, on our Facebook, on our LinkedIn platform, a lot of you, I'm talking to you that is looking at me. You keep beating yourself just like I beat myself. Hey, I said beat it. Sorry. Just like I beat myself in the past. And even now, sometimes, I still beat myself. Why? Because the natural ability of a human is to try to fix problems. And if we see ourselves as problems, instinctively, our mental faculties turn on ourselves and try to give us instructions, correction, or beat us, or do whatever it thinks might be necessary to get us focusing on changing ourselves without our permission. You just got into a big quarrel, a big fight with somebody. When the fight is over, you're walking away having a conversation with yourself trying to fix you. I told you the next time you need to lift your hand. The next time you need to do this. The next time you need to do that. And you're in a battle with yourself, nobody else. Your mental health needs addressing. Now, what's the good news in this conversation? What's the good news? The Castle Steele, we do lifelong learning. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to do this by the grace of God for the rest of my life, maybe. Who knows? Because every day in life, there's going to be a need to address some other conflict, some other issue. And it's good to have somebody or some group or some team or some family member that is going to be there, got your back. Don't think you will ever get your mental health fixed in one guru moment. Doesn't work. Don't think you'll ever read a book that will fix you. It doesn't work. You read a book that will fix a part of you and trouble another part of you. You'll have a lecture that will fix a part of you and trouble another part of you. What do I mean by that? The expectation of your progress in life should be realistic. I'm going to be a better person one day at a time. I'm going to be a stronger person one day at a time. With that being said, thank you for listening to this class. We're open now for discussions on this evening's session, expectations. I'm going to ask Dr. Charles. Dr. Charles, I just want your quick take.
Yes, sir. Pleasant good evening, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, Jenny Steele. Your Excellency, Dr. Michael Steele. Your Excellencies and Your Excellency, Bishop Dr. Comfort Adu, Your Excellency Ezine Ezechi, Your Excellency Stephen Abu, and Your Excellency Georgina Amakakore, Zionist. I got something very important in this subject of expectation. Number one, I think one of the reasons why we don't realize our expectations is that we first of all build castle on the air, having expectations that are not realistic. And then another one, like you said, is not being able to communicate our expectations so that somebody who along the line that can, a vision helper, we do, lack of communication makes us not to give a vision helper a tool to work and bring our expectation to fruition. And I believe that, like you said, if we will sit down, work on our expectations and ask ourselves, is this realistic? Mm-hmm. If it is not, what do I do? Because I know the reason why so many people fail is that they build much castle on the air. Mm. And like you said, communication matters a lot in everything we do. I remember when I was reading James Hadley Chase, there's a character they call Albany. He said, I move around, I ask questions, and I get told. And when I put two and two together, I got the fact. So expectation without communication and then asking questions, I think we will end up building something that cannot come up. And then you hit the nail at the head when you talk about the priority in expectation. Actually, immediate family and what puts food on our table, and then our health. I was quietly waiting, but today you have proved everything again, because I wanted to know whether you will mention the spiritual and mental health. Because actually, spiritual is the one that controls the physical. But you really deliver the subject very well after you said that the supreme and ultimate. Because if we are not mentally balanced, I doubt if one will. There are some people that because they have mental imbalance and they were unable to even understand that their immediate family has to be a priority. There are people, they say this person is very good outside but never good at home, which means they never prioritize their immediate family, and that is mental imbalance. So, Your Excellency, you have done a noble job, most especially in this ultimate one, the spiritual and mental health. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for your submission, Dr. Charles. It's always a pleasure to get your submission, to hear your take as well, pertaining to the subjects at hand. And this is a very interesting subject that in no sense of the word have I exhausted some of the necessities of discussion. And that's why we have those private classes where we go more in depth. If anybody's interested to kind of get more in-depth insight into what we're doing and what we're discussing in these environments where we just share just snapshots with you, then it would be lovely for you to get more closer to the class of Steele and become one of our members for sure in the class of Steele. Your Excellency Zionist Amaka Curry, would you unmute yourself, please, and share your take on this evening's class, please?
Good evening, Your Excellency, Dr. Bishop Michael Steele. Good evening, First Lady, Her Excellency First Lady Janine Steele. Good evening, Your Excellency, Bishop Dr. Comfort Edu. And good evening, Your Excellency, our Chief of Protocol, Dr. Donald Ewell. And good evening to our King, His Majesty, Edward Madu. If he's available, good evening. And in absentia, we still salute him because he's our King. And good evening to everyone. Dr. Charles, good evening to you. Good evening, Engineer Stephen Abu, and every other member of this platform, whether in presence or globally. I salute all of you. I greet you. Warm greetings to you. First of all, apology for late entry, Your Excellency. I've had to medicate. Although I came in late, but the lecture you gave this evening rocks the heart. It brings back memory, and it's one upon which an oath has been sworn to do things different. And when you do give lecture, I like to bring it home to myself. I like to think about how it's impacted me, how it's affected me, and how my own experience can be of any value to others listening to all of your lecture. Expectations. How do we communicate our expectation and observe how others expect their expectations from us? It is very vital. I take this back home to marriage. When I made so much expectation on my husband, so much expectation, and those expectations were not fulfilled. And it did impacted upon our marriage. But looking back over several years now, the expectation I had upon him as a then, I class it as childish and naive, inexperienced. And with some degree of maturity then, it should never have led to even a discord between us. I made expectation upon myself. I then passed that expectation upon my husband. So I have a burden and I put a burden upon him. He couldn't carry his own burden, neither could he carry mine, because it wasn't shared, it wasn't discussed, it wasn't visionary. So expectation is good, as you have taught us, but it has to be realistic. It has to be dialogued. There has to be an agreement. And it has to be put into some sort of framework. We want to go on holidays and expect, I want to go to New York for holiday. It's expectation. My birthday is coming up. I want to be in a certain place for my birthday. It's expectation. I want us to have a mansion. I say, it's expectation, but nothing happens without proper planning. And nothing stays the same. And so the young man, because we married when, in our youth days. So the expectation I did put upon him, it took almost this present time for that expectation to be reasonably satisfied. So the length is taken and the cost involved. And I was wanting him to do it there and then, those days. So it's not realistic for us to put expectation upon other people. It's like a fairy tale dream, really. You wake up and this living in a cuckoo land, you put that on people expecting somebody to come up with an answer. And so we have to communicate it. We have to agree upon it. We have to plan. We have to also wait. And also you give the 4 key areas to prioritize in terms of our expectation. Anything to do with immediate family, emergency, those are reasonable expectation. How bills are to be paid, our health, our mental health, those are priority expectation. And I'm believing that anything outside this can be termed as a buttressed expectation. Those that does not stand on solid foundation, a fairy tale expectation. All expectation is good, every expectation. I want to change my hairstyle. I want to change whatever I need to change. There are realistic expectations. We are human beings. Nothing ever stays the same. I buy one cup of a pattern of cup of a tea cup today. Tomorrow I go to the shop, I see another. Even if I don't have the money, I have this dream that I want, that I am expecting to get paid, find money and get that. And so expectation, whether in marriage, you said it affects marriage, it affects business, it affects every sphere of our human relationship. But we need to take into consideration the dynamics of our expectation. And we need to understand logistics, whether it's local, global, surrounding our expectation. So for me, in summary, to my own experience, my expectation was such that it was an overload and it was detrimental to my relationship then. And it impacted upon our mental health because the joy was out of the window as expectation took chairmanship of our relationship. Our expectation of our progress in life, like you say, should be realistic. But in the absence of it being realistic, it hampers progress. Expectations hampers progress. And so there is a saying that a longing deferred makes the heart sick, but a longing fulfilled gladdens the heart and gives health to the heart. Yeah, that is true, but it has its own place. So my own take is from my own experience, I pass it, I share it with other people. Before making expectation upon somebody else, ask yourself if you can fulfill it, given the opportunity to be the sole person. And before making expectation upon ourselves, we should ask ourselves, is that a priority? Is there any other way to put what we are expecting into a manageable context that we can achieve? We should also acknowledge that expectations are not bad. They're actually sweet and they spur us to do greater, to achieve greater. But it is the management of our expectation or inability to manage it that then determines whether we fail or we succeed. Yeah. This is my take this evening, and thank you for this beautiful lecture, Your Excellency. My name is Zioness Amaka Georgina Curry.
Thank you so very much, Zioness, for your submission. And one of the things that we will be doing quite a bit in the class of Steele, and I like our team. I really appreciate the team of individuals that we have. The individuals who are realistic with what has happened. Life has happened to all of us. Some of us have made good decisions. Some of us have made bad decisions. Some of us have just made decisions based on our understanding and our knowledge at the time. But one of the things that I appreciate any mentor, any teacher, any leader for is the ability to say, if I had known better, or if I had known different, I would not have done. And there's a saying that we hear, hindsight is 20/20 vision. It's easy for somebody to see that you've just gone through a crisis and they look and tell you, well, if you had done this, that wouldn't have happened. But dare them to tell me that before it happened. Don't do that, because if you do that, that will, dare them. Life is not that simple. However, the beauty is that we have mentors that when we have sessions and conferences talking about relationship and marriage and family, don't be embarrassed to sign up for those kind of events. A lot of people sign up for events about making money and pyramid schemes. But how many of them want to be in an environment where they learn how to manage effectively their relationships for sustainability, for leaving a legacy, a positive legacy? It is possible to work through a lot of the difficulties that we ourselves had in relationships that we failed on. It's possible. How do you do it? By having somebody tell you what to do different. So Your Excellency, Zioness, I want to thank you for being a part of the core team of the class of Steele, where you're real. The world needs more real people, so that those that are within the corridors of decision making, they will have somebody that will tell them, this is a good decision you're making, stick to it. This is a bad decision you're going to make. Here's what could happen if you make that decision. We need that. So I want to thank you for being that in the class of Steele with us. And for those of you, we just want you to be aware that Zioness Amaka Curry and First Lady and myself, we have an area where we deal with relationships, marriages, and we talk real and straight. The reason why you don't see it on social media is it might be too real and too straight for some of you. But it gets to the core, and it will help you to make the right decisions at the right times. And you will be glad you came. So when you see you get a personal invitation to be a part of one of those conferences that we're going to have, dealing with family and relationships and sex and money and children and step parents and all that good stuff. Say good stuff. I hope you show up prepared to be challenged to do the best you can with what you have, knowing sometimes that's all we have. But once we learn how to deal with it, makes a difference. So Zionist, thank you so very much for your submission this evening. And I want to ask one of the elders in the class of Steele, Her Excellency Bishop Dr. Comfort Adu out of Ghana, a mummy to many. And she is responsible for the West African region. You are welcome, Your Excellency Dr. Comfort Adu. Good evening.
Fine evening. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. It's a pleasant time to be on the platform and to see all the excellencies around. I salute you all, especially our First Lady, Her Excellency Jenny Steele, and our King, His Royal Majesty, who always comes on the platform. And sometimes when he's not on the platform, we believe he's behind the scene watching. As well as the Chief of Protocol, His Excellency Donald E.W.S. and Her Excellency Zioness Emeka. I always wake up in the morning when I'm reading the Bible, and I come across the Zion, her name comes first. I like her charisma. And Dr. Charles and all the excellencies in the house. And also to our CEO, I believe she'll be coming around these days because we have missed her so much.
Definitely.
Beloved in the class of Steele, a wonderful family that we have joined. Well, to me, I would say that to have an expectation is something that is much desired. You can never live in this world without expectation. You wake up expecting something to happen. You wake up expecting to reach a certain height. There's no, excuse me to say, a reasonable person in the world that does not have an expectation. But one thing is this, that we have to ask ourselves, of which I always sometimes chip in a way, one way or the other. When you have an expectation and it does not come as you are expected, maybe all your expectation is on that other person, that other end of the road. You have not factored your input, because there's a saying that it takes two to be one. It takes two to be one. And in this world, so many expectations are filled because man has put all his or her hopes on the other side. So definitely, it's like a bridge. If you step on one side, expecting the other side to carry you through, if you don't step at the proper side, it will not balance. It will shift up, and then maybe you can fall off. So what I want to say this evening is that when it comes to expectations, one has to weigh both ends. What do I put in to make this realistic? Some of the expectations may not be realistic, but if you put you add your input to it, it can be realistic. For example, I want to go to UK. Everything has to be done by somebody else. Then definitely, if one part of the person's requirements fails, then definitely it will bounce back. But if, for example, I'm going to visit my sister in the UK, she pays a flight, she does whatever that has to be done. And to make sure that I'll be able to go, I see to the visa aspect, so that at least when I get my visa, and then my sister does not give me the air ticket, maybe I can look for an overdraft somewhere or something to make my journey successful. But if I sit down and say that my sister will do everything, yes, maybe she wants to do it. But if something fails at her end, it means my going to the UK can never come on. That is the world that we look in. It is only one person, that our maker, who is able to make things in 100% way. But with human beings, one has to have an input into the expectation. Beloved, this is where I will end for today. Thank you so much, Your Excellency. I'm Bishop Dr. Comfort Steele from Ghana. Have a good evening.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Comfort. And you've given me a boost for my closing summary of this evening's session. You've given me a boost because what you've said is so critical and so important. So in closing, I will add value to what you just shared. I see Engineer Stephen. I like the, do you know, I like the concept engineer. My dad was an engineer. And I see Reverend Stephen Abu, I know you are a man of the field and agriculturalist. But when I hear engineer, it puts a smile on my face because it's more than just agriculturalist. You're excellent.
Good evening.
You're welcome.
Good evening, my mentor.
Yes.
Good evening, my mentor, Dr. Steele.
Good evening.
Yeah. How is Mom's celebration going on, sir?
Mom's celebration is starting on Saturday, and I don't even. I think if Mom, I hope that I'm gonna get to secretly surprise her because she's not aware that I'm coming. But chances are, in all transparency, if she sees all of these classes and all of these, everybody is telling her, including me, that I'm going to be coming and seeing her on Saturday. She will see me. And actually, she will see somebody else equally that is here as well on Saturday. So you see, we can't hide. But I hope she doesn't watch any of these classes just for the sake of saying that I didn't want her to know that I was coming to surprise her. She'll be well surprised, I can assure you. We had a long conversation today.
Okay. We wish her well and more years, more graceful years living on it. I also want to greet Jenny Steele. We talked earlier on before you came in. I want to greet Josh too. Okay. I sincerely want to greet all the other excellencies in the house. Dr. Bishop Comfort Adu, my auntie, Zionist Georgina Amaka Corey, Dr. Charles, His Excellency Dr. Charles Niechi. So this evening, I just want to follow what Dr. Charles used to say. I don't know whether he has dropped that platform. Nigeria is in an election 2 years. In next year, we're having some elections this year and an election next year. And there are grave and high expectations. People don't feel we have to pick the person that is the Messiah. That when he comes, our economy will just change for good, and it will be 1 naira to a 1 pound. And these are expectations. So people want to just speak. I know that everybody's running high expectations of what is going on. And with this topic, it just hit me that my expectations about this whole thing must be realistic. And Dr. Excellency Dr. Comfort Adu just mentioned something. For your expectations to be, to be fun to be reality, you must share. There must be a shared a responsibility. You must be able to share it with individuals, and you have a basic platform where your responsibility and they are key in, and it can function and bring into reality. So what we're saying now is that politics, Nigeria is expecting the next senators, the next House of Representatives, the president, and it's a whole is jamming up to the whole election time. And some states are having their governorship race even in the next 1 or 2 weeks. And the expectation is very high. People out there are expecting great things, just the way we expected great things from our present president, and everybody expectations were caught, and it was something else. If you get into the country now, a lot of people are hungry. They're desperate. Crime rate has increased and all that. It's expectation because people didn't pledge or stick or to think about realistic expectation. And when the expectations were not met, they, invented to do other things to, gain other the expectations. And those are the attributes of things of where your expectations are not met. The scripture says that the expectations of the righteous shall never be cut off, and that's the righteous. And we are looking at into politics now. The presidency and all that, we're expecting a whole lot of persons to be coming. And even right from now, we are seeing the expectation that people are buying their ways into the positions they want to pay. No, it's really there. We can see it and we can hear about it. Causing inflations, they're bringing a lot of dollars into the system, a lot of inflation. Nobody's caring about that. They just want to get to that position. And some are saying it is their turn. If they made their previous president, they have to be there without agenda, without plan, without even knowing the expectation of the populace that you want to govern, and to see what they need and then couple it with what is your own expectation as individual, so that you know what you can meet and all that. So I feel that with this teaching tonight, my expectation will be very low on what is going to happen next year. It's not a sin to have low expectation, but I think it's better that way so that the BP, the high blood pressure, and the mental stability of individuals will not go haywire. So you place a low, expectation on the political system, the economic system, and as much as God, do the right thing and vote for who you feel will meet those low expectations, and allow God to, have His way. Let's do things right, which is integrity. Let's do the right thing, and then other processes. So tonight, I'm happy for this topic. As we said, I want to wish everybody that is here that my auntie said something very critical, and she told me, and I was just trying to shed tears. Expectations of young maidens when they get to their husband's house, very critical, very, very critical for stability of the marriage and the family itself, marriage and family institution. Thank you for tonight. I remain Stephen Abu from Lagos. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so very much, Stephen, for that. And you equally have added some value to my closing remarks for this evening on expectation and to close this session. Before I do that, let me just let the First Lady say good night to everybody, and then I will wrap up this evening's session. She'll just say a brief good evening. And by the way, the reason why my picture is there and her name is there is because the account has my picture on it, so that's why she is there. So my apologies for it's all mixed up, but that's all right. Go ahead, darling.
It's an honor and a privilege that I have to see you all yet another evening. I'm always so happy to be in your presence, the presence of many mighty men and women. And I thank you for being here in class of Steele and pouring into us, pouring into my husband and myself, pouring into each other, and pouring out to the world. And I thank you for that. Thank you for being the people that you are. May God bless you all, your households, your family, your community. And I wish you all a wonderful night. My dear, are we having class of Steele on Friday? You have to be clear on that.
Yes, we're having class of Steele on Friday because we're having class of Steele on Friday.
Okay, so I will see you all again on Friday evening. God bless you all.
All right. So thank you, dear. So I'm going to close with this. And it is important for those of you who are still here with us listening in to hear this closure. One of the things that creates resilience, one of the things that creates strength of character, one of the things that creates the ability to weather any storm, one might say, is not to have expectations. This is what I will say to us. It is to roll with the punches. What do I mean by that? Have expectations, have dreams, have hopes, have desires, have plans. Want to celebrate great initiatives and great opportunities, want to be the biggest investor in a company, want to be the biggest partner, the more successful associate. Have those expectations that you will be. However, roll with the punches. Learn to recognize that those expectations are going to form hands and feet. And some of them are going to kick you and punch you when you least expect it to. Learn to expect those punches and those kickbacks that will come to cause you possibly to lose your own footing in those difficult times. However, get back up. Get back up. And when you get back up, fight back as hard and as zealous as you did when you first started the fight. And if you should get punched again, get back up again. What am I trying to spell out pertaining to what I'm saying? Always expect that things might not go the way you want them to. And when they do, always expect that you will handle it and you will keep on keeping on. I said a lot, and I hope I didn't harp on it and rub it the wrong way or say it the wrong way, and I hope you get what I'm saying. But I just don't want you to ever quit. I don't want you to throw in the towel. I just want you to always know you are a winner. And in closing, as soon as they hear of me, they shall obey me. The strangers shall submit themselves to me. Why? Because I have the answer. I have the solution. I have the right attitude and the right character, and I'm doing it for the right reason. Class of Steele, I appreciate you, and I hope this class has benefited you greatly. Have yourself a fantastic evening, and I'll see you on Friday, where I'm going to have some fun with you. Come prepared to have a laugh on Friday. Good night, and God bless you. Bye-bye for now, guys.
Yeah, good night, sir.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all the excellencies.
Good night.
Good night, Dr. Chan.